Welcome to The Explainer. If you are a caregiver of a child with ADHD or sensory processing challenges, you already know that your day is pretty much a constant, exhausting puzzle. I mean, from managing those tricky transitions and just trying to hold their attention for more than a minute to helping them navigate overwhelming sounds, scratchy textures, or crowded spaces, it takes a lot out of you. But today, we're going to explore a truly fascinating movement-based approach that clinicians and educators are increasingly turning to. We are looking at how structured fun can directly support your child's daily regulation and actually build essential life skills. All right, let's dive right into this.
So let's start with a big question. Is fidgeting just bad behavior? You know the scene, when your kid is practically bouncing off the walls or they just physically cannot seem to sit still in their chair. It is incredibly easy to view that as a discipline problem or maybe a lack of focus. But what if we've been looking at this entirely the wrong way? What if that constant physical movement isn't them trying to act out, but is actually a fundamental biological need?
It's super easy to label this restlessness as a behavioral issue, but often what we're actually seeing is sensory information desperately trying to be processed. The child's nervous system is actively seeking input. It literally needs to move to understand its environment. And this is exactly where dance steps in. Dance provides a socially acceptable, highly controlled channel for all that restless energy. Instead of fighting their natural urge to move, it gives that movement a constructive purpose.
Now, before we get too far, it's absolutely crucial to set the right expectations here. As our source points out, dance is not a replacement for medical care or evidence-based ADHD treatment plans. Rather, it complements them. We aren't talking about a magic cure-all, but dance is a powerful, engaging tool to add to your existing therapeutic toolbox. It's a tool that uses repeated movement and predictable rhythms to help kids organize their bodies and their attention in a fun, super reliable way.
All right, let's move into our first major concept, translating attention into action.
When we talk about focus, it really helps to think of it in terms of small wins. Let's break down the cycle of learning choreography. First, you follow the beat. Next, you copy the move. Then, you transition when the music changes. Now, ADHD often affects a child's ability to sustain attention in everyday life, right? But this repeated cycle in a dance class literally transforms concentration into physical action. Because there are highly visible goals and clear step-by-step instructions, kids learn to anticipate what's coming next. And that anticipation actually reduces their restlessness and builds up their capacity for sustained focus.
Which brings us to something really fascinating: the organizing power of rhythm. For kids with sensory processing differences, a normal environment like a loud, bustling classroom can feel incredibly overwhelming, or conversely, completely understimulating. But dance provides highly controlled sensory input. You get consistent auditory rhythm, coordinated movement through space, and some great proprioceptive pressure from things like jumping or stomping. Why does this matter? Because rhythm gives a chaotic nervous system a reliable, predictable pattern. This helps physically organize those overwhelming sensations, making it so much easier for a child to tolerate classroom noise or calm down after a super busy day.
But the benefits go well beyond just managing the senses. Let's talk about motor planning. Learning choreography connects physical routines directly to cognitive skills. A child has to plan a sequence, remember it briefly, and then adjust on the fly when the instructor changes direction. Over time, practicing this drastically improves their body awareness. They start to understand exactly where their limbs are in space and how much physical force to use. And as that physical coordination improves, so does their self-confidence to tackle new, totally unrelated tasks.
So we've covered the physical side, but let's talk about building an emotional safety net.
You start when prompted, you pause and reset, and then you rejoin after getting frustrated. This right here is emotional regulation in real-time action. A dance class is a structured yet incredibly playful setting where kids can actively practice making mistakes, getting frustrated, and then bouncing back. These are the exact same coping skills you're likely working on at home, but here it's cleverly disguised as an engaging activity rather than a chore.
And what makes that emotional safety net possible in the first place? It's all about how the environment is structured by the teacher. The keys are clear verbal cues, visual demonstrations of the moves, and continuous positive reinforcement. This specific combination drastically reduces the misunderstandings that so often trigger meltdowns in other settings. It sets the child up for successful participation, letting them feel safe enough to try, to fail, and importantly, to try again.
Okay, so you're seeing the benefits, but let's discuss finding the right fit for your child.
When you're trialing a new class, you need a practical checklist. First off, look for manageable group sizes. This helps reduce sensory overload right out of the gate. Second, see if the studio offers quiet corners. This is a vital safe space for a child to regulate if they get overwhelmed during class. Finally, look for instructors who offer alternative movements to accommodate individual physical preferences. A truly good fit perfectly combines rigid structure with individual choice, allowing your child to participate fully without ever feeling trapped.
And remember, you as the caregiver are a massive part of this equation. Please don't be afraid to proactively share with the instructor the strategies that already work for you at home or at school. If your child needs noise-canceling headphones for sensory overload, let the instructor know. If they require advanced warnings before a transition happens, or if they just need permission to take a quick movement break off to the side without getting in trouble, communicate that. Empowering the instructor with this knowledge is how you guarantee a truly supportive environment.
Let's zoom out a bit now and look at the long-term rhythm. What does this actually look like on a random Tuesday at home? Well, caregivers frequently report real-world impacts that go far beyond the studio walls. You might start seeing much smoother transitions between daily activities, or way more consistent attention when they are engaged in preferred tasks. Families also report significantly better emotional regulation after an overstimulating event, like a loud birthday party or a chaotic school day. Plus, because dance can be taught as a shared creative activity rather than a high-pressure competition, you often see incredible growth in teamwork and social confidence. It proves that this is so much more than just a weekly hobby. Which brings us to a final thought. How are you going to bring some structured rhythm into your child's routine today? Whether that means taking the step to sign up for a specialized, low-barrier class, or simply being intentional about putting on some music and practicing those small wins right in your own living room, the opportunity is absolutely there. Remember, movement isn't the enemy of your child's focus. When channeled correctly, it might just be the exact key needed to unlock it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep trying new things, and I really hope you feel empowered to explore how structured movement can help your child thrive.